The show begins with a brief introduction about a continent called the Tal'Dorei, and a kingdom in it called Amon. This is a magical island that once killed the gods and titans, but they are now banding together to subdue a powerful monster that is disturbing the lands. Even the strongest mercenaries of all time were all killed by this mysterious monster. The council of the land, which is being led by King Uriel, are now totally out of ideas, because all several bands of mercenaries they sent are all dead, and even sending the armies isn't a good idea, because they don't know what the mysterious creature looks like. The show suddenly introduces us to a band of mercenaries called the Vox Machina, who seems like some bunch of losers, but don't judge these guys by their looks. These band comprises of a big strong guy called Grog, an expert in archery, and their strategist called Vex, with her twin brother Vax, Keyleth, with the ability to control plant and animals, Percy, an expert gunslinger, Pike, with the magic and healing abilities, and finally Gnome Scanlan, with the powers of creating illusions. Vox Machina offers their services to the people in exchange of a hefty sum of gold, but they haven't gotten a job in a while because everyone sees them as a failure and they are now really broke. Scanlan later sees a paper on the wall concerning wanted mercenaries from the king himself with so much gold as an offer, which restored smile back to their faces. The Vox Machina meets with the king, who has no choice but to give them the job, since they don't even have anyone better in mind. Vex senses something extraordinary about one of the members of the council but decided not to say this to anyone. The group are all transported through an airship that takes them to the town the monster was last seen. The band started to interact with the villagers concerning some informations about the monster, who describes it as a creature that can fly. Vax handed a coin to a little boy in that village, promising to kill the mysterious creature for their sake. The Vox Machina immediately headed towards the mountain where they saw footprints that leads them to a lamb. Unexpectedly, the lamb was crushed by a really terrifying blue dragon, which leaves the band in a situation of fighting for their lives, instead of killing the monster. The group have never been this afraid before, and when they were about to be roasted by the flames of the dragon, Keyleth uses a plant powers to save them. When the dragon goes away thinking they are dead, the group is left with tending to their injuries. While Vex reveals to know more about this creature, because when she and her twin brother Vax were both young, their parents were killed by the dragon, and because of this she has been making researches about them for a long time, and now even has the ability to sense whenever a dragon is nearby. She reveals to the band that she sensed the presence of the dragon during the meeting among the council, making the group to conclude that one of them must be working with the winged creature. Apart from Pike, who wants to continue the task for the sake of the villagers, the rest of them already lost their interest in the job, knowing how they almost lost their lives all because of the money. As they decided to return back to the palace to terminate their contract with the council, they were left speechless when they came across the village they passed through from earlier, which is now totally destroyed by the creature. A weak cry gets their attention, which turns out to be that same little boy whom Vax gave his coin with a promise of annihilating the monster. Pike tries to use her healing powers to cure the boy's injury, but she's really weak from the battle with the dragon, and before anything else was done, the boy died tragically. Seeing all these, the Vox Machina decided to change their mind on terminating the contract, not because of the money, but they decided to be heroes, promising themselves to kill the monster at all cost, and even if they die while trying, they believe their death will be glorious, and they will all be remembered in the history books. On the other hand, we see General Krieg giving a motivational speech on getting his men ready to attack the mysterious creature, but unexpectedly, the creature shows up in form of a blue dragon and burnt all forces alive, apart from the only survival, General Krieg, who reported the king about the incident, and revealing the identity of the creature. The Vox Machina later shows up in the council hall, which left the council so surprised on how those weirdos were all able to survive. They revealed that the creature is a blue dragon.
We know.
But of course, they have already gotten the information from General Krieg. Anyway, the king has no choice but to move his entire army at once to fight the dragon, because all their farmland are being destroyed constantly, which might lead to hunger if nothing is done about it. Vex experiences the sensation of dragon once again, which seems to be coming from a council member called Sir Gregory Fince, and reveals it to her friends this time around, suggesting to Grog and Scanlan to spy on Sir Fince to see what he's up to, while Pike and Vax were being sent to buy a weapon that is strong enough to kill the dragon. Unfortunately, all the weapons are too expensive for them, but decided to get an advice from the shopkeeper Gilmore, who tells them that the dragon can only be killed in a gorge where two rivers meet. Scanlan and Gorg, who were able to track down Sir Fince to a mansion, immediately called the rest of the band, who had a hard time to break into the mansion because of the lock, until Vax smartly opens the doors using a pick. Looking at the pictures on the walls, they realizes that the house belongs to General Krieg, suspecting that Sir Finch showed up at the mansion to assassinate the general. They saw Sir Finch stealing some documents, but he reveals to them that he wasn't trying to steal, but only wanted to retrieve some proof concerning General Krieg's involvement in the chaos. Before finishing what he was saying, he was stabbed with a sword from behind, which surprisingly turns out to be General Krieg. Vex started to get the sensation again, but not from Sir Finch as she suspected, but it was coming from General Krieg. They immediately chased after General Krieg, which led them to a secret portal that transported them to a dragon nest, far away from home. They saw General Krieg, who reveals his motives of wiping out the entire army of the king who are entrusted to him, and plans to create a new world where dragons will be in control. They are confused for a moment, until General Krieg transforms himself to a dragon called the Brimscythe, scaring life and death out of them.
Didn't see this one coming, did you, Vex?
Unfortunately, they didn't initially still know a way of killing the dragon, but it wasn't too late on planning how to, as Scanlan uses his illusion powers to confuse the beast, Keyleth uses her tree powers to ties it down, with Pike combining her magic with Vex archery making the beast weak, while they left the rest for Vax, Percy, and Grog, who finishes off the dragon with their weapons. Back at the palace, the king rewarded the Vox Machina by making them the protectors of the realm and honorable member of the council, but the group doesn't seem to be satisfied because he didn't gift them with any gold, but they all immediately forgot about it when he gave them a key for their new mansion, staying close by to the king, who as well informs them the high-ranked officials are on their way, and he will use the chance to hold a banquet so they can discuss the security of the kingdom. We later see the high-ranked officials on their way to the banquet called Lord Silas and Lady Delilah, known as the Briarwoods, who are in charge of the territory called the White Stone. They were later attacked in the middle of the forest by bandits requesting for their money, but Lord Silas suddenly started to feed on one of them, tearing the rest of the bandits to pieces, as he is revealed to be a vampire. Later that night, Percy had a nightmare about how his parents were killed, which is revealed to be done by the Briarwoods. Lady Allura from the palace later visited the band the next morning, reminding them about the banquet between the king and foreign officials. She's mostly concerned about their manners in the banquet, but Percy assures her that he will sorely teach them the behaviors of nobles.
Nothing will go wrong.
As soon as the banquet begins, Percy couldn't maintain his composure after seeing Lord Silas and Lady Delilah in the banquet, recognizing them to be the ones who murdered his parents, and taking control over his father's territory. As Percy told the band about this, they sent Vax upstairs to sneak inside their room. During dinner, the king told Lord the Briarwoods concerning the dark rumors he has been hearing from their city called the White Stone, and believes he may need to send some of his armies to inspect the place, but Lord Silas denies the rumor and we see his eyes glowing, which he used to mind control the king on not sending any troops for inspection, and made him permit their territory to be independent. As the Briarwoods excused themselves, they caught Vax spying in their room, who seems to have found something suspicious. Vax tries to escape, but he was injured by a bite of Silas, who throws him out of the window, while Vex, who senses her brother is in danger, immediately tells Scanlan to cause a distraction to everyone in the banquet, allowing the rest of them go help assist Vax in the fight with the Briarwoods. After a never-ending battle, the Briarwoods decided to flee, leaving the driver behind. Percy furiously takes out a gun and threatens the driver concerning what the Briarwoods are up to, but suddenly puts on a mask while he wasn't getting any answers and tries to kill the man. The whole band tells Percy to stop, believing his anger is out of control, but just then the king came out of the palace, commanding the troops to arrest the Vox Machina. Vex tells Lady Allura that the king is under the Briarwoods' influence, which she doesn't believe, but still decided to investigate about the matter as the Vox Machina were put into house arrest, until she can get the Briarwoods' side of the story. Meanwhile, the Briarwoods are making their escape back to the White Stone, until Lady Delilah discovers that her book is missing, which turns out to be Vax, who stole the book from earlier when he sneaked into their room. Lord Silas tells her not to worry because they have other ways of getting the book back. While the Vox Machina are looking what they can find in the book, Pike reveals to them that ever since their fight with the Briarwoods, she doesn't seem to have access to their powers anymore, believing her god called Everlight must have left her. Suddenly some dark creatures started to attack the whole place, killing 5 guards in the process. They were sent by Silas and Delilah so they can retrieve back the book, but with the outstanding teamwork from the Everest guards and the Vox Machina, they were finally able to spot the weakness of the creature, which turns out to be lights that killed them at once. After the battle, the guards decided to let them go, who later decided to follow Percy to Whitestone so they can avenge his parents, and as well clear their names, but Pike decided to stay behind, so she can find a way of communicating with her god, thereby retrieving her lost powers. Vax, and Keyleth sneaks inside Gilmore's shop to steal some weapons that can be used to kill vampires, but Gilmore still catches them with his traps, but he still sells the weapons they came to purchase, knowing how important it is, including a bottle of holy water that can be used to kill a vampire. They immediately reunited with the rest of the members who stole a carriage, and they all used it to make their journey to Whitestone. On their way, Vex notices some creatures following them, which turns out to be a mutant wolf-like creatures who apprehended them. One of them takes Scanlan away because he is holding the book, while rest of the team chases after the wolf so they can rescue Scanlan. As the monster flies up the mountains while holding Scanlan with its teeth, Vex quickly shoots an arrow attached to a rope to his direction. The Vox Machina were able to get out of their carriage in time before their carriage falls off the cliff, but they lost all their supplies in the process. Just as they thought Scanlan was also dead because he wasn't able to catch onto the rope, he rises up with a purple big hand using his powers, but the book was no longer in his possession, and they saw it in the mouth of one of the monsters who run to the city of Whitestone and delivers it to its master, who turns out to be Lord Silas and Delilah, who we see discussing with a man called Professor Anders concerning an upcoming rituals. Then a group of Pleasant enters the castle with Lord Silas lying to them that they have been chosen for an special event. While the Vox Machina continued their journey on foot, we see Pike, who went to a temple, narrating to the cleric about how her holy symbol was destroyed in a fight, losing her communication with God Everlight, but the cleric assures her that she will still be able to regain the connection. Vox Machina finally arrived at the city of Whitestone, which turns out to be creepy, but they were left speechless when they saw the body of 4 peasants who were dressed up like them hanging on a tree. They are those people who attended the Briarwood special event from earlier. And that was how this episode ended. Thank you for watching, guys. If you love animation movies, please subscribe to this channel. And keep watching. Bye.